had to resort to an old tripod because the one I've been using has finally broke. One I got from Amazon. The one I got from Corey works on the table, but there's not enough room for the feet on my desk. So we're back to here. How's everybody doing today? Um, Let me just wait until people start showing up because I kind of sprung this on you folks. And I'm going to get some medication ready. I have made myself a comfrey poultice for my knee. And I'm doing a video. Hey, Missouri Belle. Well, I was doing really well. This is what happens with me, okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Hi. Let everybody get in here while I fix myself up some natural medication. Do you know when I was at the doctor, having him look at my knee in the emergency room? Let everybody, you want me to say hi? Come on in and say hi first so I can see all who said hello and so I can shout back to you. When I went to the hospital, what's today? Wednesday? So when I went to the hospital on Monday, was it Monday? Yes. He poked and prodded, made me scream, gave me 4 pills and some Tylenol and told me, to ice it and stuff. So that's been working pretty good. It's been working really well, except at 2 o'clock, and see, I get into bed a certain way, okay? I get into bed on the left side of the bed, and I usually put the left knee down on the bed, and I put my hand on my pillow and on my bedside table, and then I do this, boom, and I throw myself into a tuck and roll right into bed. And at 2 o'clock this morning, I had to go to the bathroom. And I didn't think anything of it. When I got back, I tried to do my tuck and roll. See, since I've damaged my knee, I have to get into bed by sitting on the side of the bed and then lifting my legs in. Made a mistake, 2 o'clock in the morning, medicated. And I twisted my knee. So that's kind of what's going on. But I have a comfrey wrap on my tree. I have a comfrey wrap poultice on my knee right now. And if I make it no other video this week, you're getting a video of this. I can't take the phone down to show you because it took me 5 minutes to get that properly positioned. All right, let me say hi to some folks here. Let's pop out the participants. At least I don't have to. Betty Randall, Bromwyn B. Seashell, aloha, darling. Celeste, Frida, hi. Haven't seen you in a while. Holly Ivans, Jolene Cole, Lizzie Black, Linda Bopp, Lori, Lynn, Marcy M. Mary Lindsay, Michelle Galloway, Mindy Patriot Angel, Missouri Belle, Nancy Nadeau, Shay, Stephanie Alexander, Wild Fox, Wildcraft, and Stephanie Yoshi. All right, let me go back up here and then just pop the chat out now. All right, let's just pop this chat out. So, I'm going to get Howie to take my camera out tonight. And, oh my God, the mess of this desk. I can't wait till I'm functioning a little better and I can actually get in a day's friggin' cleaning work. Oops. You've been sick. Oh, honey, I'm sorry to hear that. Hey. So, I pulled my knee getting into bed. Getting back into bed at 2 o'clock this morning. A 10-pound roll of hamburger for $20. That is pretty cheap anymore. Remember when hamburger used to go on for 99 cents a pound? Whole chickens, 99 cents a pound. Chicken leg quarters, 59 cents a pound. And you know what? The prices are still going up, and the farmers aren't getting anything for it. Only the grocery stores and the big conglomerates that run the grocery stores and stuff like that are actually raking it in hand over friggin' fist since all the prices went up. The farmers are actually being asked to perform more with less. It's really nuts. Hi, you fries from Germany, Diane Zook. I went outside to mow my lawn. I set my playlist of yours to play while I was mowing, not actually listening. I hope doing this for you helps. Absolutely, always, sweetheart. And to be, and a playlist, once it's played through once, they take the ads off it because they're catching on to people helping other people. Good old shopping days are going away, but guess what? Yes, I'm adjusting my poultice. The good old shopping days are going away, yes, but the good old days of gardening and chickens are back, baby. Back. I just looked out in my garden, and you have no idea how difficult it is for me to stay in the house right now and not go down the steps and not take my walker into the garden and pull weeds. And to be fair, it was only like 3.5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. Now the prices are insane. Well, even before the pandemic, I noticed prices creeping up, right? They're doing, let's talk real. They're doing everything they can to make us reliant on the grocery systems, on the medical systems, on the government systems, on social systems, so that they have more control. Nobody wants anybody who can grow a garden and have a couple of chickens for eggs in their backyard and the occasional Sunday chicken stew. We don't have to raise cattle and pigs and goats. We don't necessarily have to do much of any of that. Just growing a really good garden and raising a few chickens for eggs and then eventually meat does the job. I agree about farmers getting less unless you're big corporate farmers. Oh yeah, look at what's his name? I don't even want to say his name. Who's buying up? Bill and Melinda Gates buying up, have over 60% of the farmland purchased in America. You tell me they're not going after control. You learn nothing and be happy. That's right. They might think they're going to be forced to be reliant, but they don't know a lot about us. That's right. That's right. Because I don't think they realize how far they've pushed us, even us Canadians. Let me put it to you this way. Canadians are some of the most mild-mannered and polite people on the face of the earth. I think that's why people think I'm American. But if you push the kindest, most polite people on the face of the earth to the point of a convoy, then you should be listening, not treating us like traitors. I know I lost a lot of subscribers when I joined the convoy, the Freedom Convoy, because I believed in it, right? And I still believe in it. And the fact that, yes, they say the Emergencies Act was needed at the time. Now, I'm going to agree with that to a certain degree, okay? But the truth is, Trudeau knew the convoy was coming, knew what we wanted, and knew what was going to happen if he didn't communicate with the people. And he chose to hide and let it build and build and build and build with no resolution until he could invoke the Emergencies Act and put the people of Canada back in their line. Right? He could have, and it was stated, yes, the Emergencies Act was needed for certain things, but it all could have been avoided if he had just before they even got to Ottawa, say, okay, let's organize this so we can get together and we can talk. Let's open a dialogue. Let's come to some kind of conclusion. But no, Trudeau had to be a dictatorial, empty-headed puppet. And that's my rant for the day. Hey, D Double, we are all free. We just got to stand up and take it. That's right. We're only free. Freedom is only free when you fight for it. You have to defend your freedom, or you don't get to keep it. If you don't defend your garden from bugs, then you won't have a garden. If you don't protect your chickens from weasels and raccoons and foxes and coyotes, if you don't protect your livestock from that, you won't have livestock. If you don't protect your money, your health, your privacy, you will have none. Do you understand? Whoa, that came out of nowhere. I will not comply. Hey, Funky Prepper. That's how I found your channel when you were on the road to support the convoy last year. It was cold as hell out there and you were on the road. Yeah. And the week before the convoy, I went to the Freedom Rally on Parliament Hill. I went to the Freedom Rally on Parliament Hill. I've been in the convoy. I marched against Monsanto, and I marched for marijuana. Guess what? My knees are baffed, but I still will march. You got me? Even if I have to do it with walkers. Matter of fact, the Monsanto one I had to do with a walker. When you all went to Parliament as Canadians, you agreed to the When you all went to Parliament as Canadians, you agreed to the corporation rules. Please explain that, D Double. Dealing with family crap, trying to listen. Oh, honey, what's going on, Bourbon? I'm not defending your guy, but at least he can form sentences. I'm not. Yeah, I get it. He can form sentences because they're dropped into his brain, right? They're put in front of him. And all he's given his lines, and then he pulls out the drama teacher and acts the part. He is no prime minister. He is evil, pure and simple. They have they have no land on it. That's right. I was saying the other day that we pay 40% of our income into taxes and insurance. 40% of our combined income goes to the government in one form or another, whether it's insurance or taxes. Let me put it to you this way. I have a mortgage on my home. Now, I have to have insurance on that mortgage, or they won't let me keep my mortgage. Because God forbid my house burn down and the bank not get their money. Because the bank always gets it first. I pay taxes on that insurance. YouTube takes 30% of my gross income. I am not lying. 30% of my gross income goes right into the pockets of YouTube. And then the income that I am left with at the end of the income that I am left with gets taxed. What am I paying in taxes this year? 15%? I'm paying 15% of my income is going directly back to the government. That's my income. Howie pays for unemployment insurance, health benefits at work, Canada Pension Plan. So I said employment insurance, it used to be unemployment insurance, how they changed the language just to make it more for their benefit. Oh, it's not so that you're insured against unemployment. It's insurance so that we'll make sure you get employment. There's a whole other ballgame. So he pays employment insurance, health insurance through work, Canada Pension Plan, income tax. Okay? Now, all of that comes off of his paycheck. He loses almost 40% of his, okay? So that's just taxes, all right? Then we have insurance. Guys, I have a truck, a car, and a motorhome, and a house. That costs me just in insurance. I pay $906 a month for house, vehicle insurance, and license plates. I know people who don't even have that to live on. $906 a month just on insurance. 40% of our income, combined income, 40% of our combined income is eaten up in that insurance and government taxes. So at the end of the year, when we submit all of these things, then Revenue Quebec comes back and goes, oh, no, because you work in Ontario, Mr. Foley, we're going to tax you more because you live in Quebec. So every year, my husband ends up paying close to $5,000 over and above what he has paid all year. And me too. Right? So you tell me that's insane. It's the truth. It's the truth. Okay? Now listen. You listen carefully. That's not the taxes we pay on groceries. That's not the carbon tax on our gas, which is, by the way, going up another 61 cents, which is going to drive up the cost of food, the cost of travel, the cost of everything else. This is why they want everybody in 15-minute cities so that you don't have to have a car. You can walk, or you can take, driverless electric cabs, right? But the big issue is when they have you in a 15-minute city, they can lock you down. You don't see the barriers until the barriers go up. Think about East Germany, okay? East Germany, it didn't start with, putting up a concrete wall. It started up with exits being blocked, and then barbed wire, and then came the wall. I pay taxes on, do I have a receipt somewhere? I might have a receipt somewhere. What's this? This is a receipt for, doesn't say, let me see. I have no idea what that was a receipt for. I usually have receipts floating around. Oh my goodness. I have to go through my seeds. I have I have seeds in my drawers. I got to get them all back in the tubs. But if you buy groceries, okay, this is how it works in Canada. This was one of my biggest reasons I could sell ice to Eskimos at the bakery, right? Somebody would come in and they would say, okay, I want 5 of those cookies because there's 5 people in the group. I want 5 of those cookies. I'd say, no, you want 6. And they'd say, why? I said, because if you buy 5, you're going to get taxed on every single cookie. But if you buy 6, it is considered a family size and you pay no tax. So every time you buy a bag of chips in the store, or a bottle of pop, or a single serving of anything, you're going to get taxed on it. Hey, Corey! That's what the estate you have was made for. It's the Queen's business, not ours. The Queen's friggin' dead, okay? And I'm sorry if I offend any patriots out there, but she's never been my queen. Maybe when I was younger and so full of patriotism. But what the fuck have they ever done for this country? What have they ever done for this country? This country is politically so tied in knots, there's no way of untangling it. The only thing we do is got to cut the Gordian knot. We got to get rid of Trudeau. Right? It's that simple. And I'm really sorry this has turned into a political talk, but we pay a city sales tax. Oh, yeah, and that's not my property tax, eh? Do you know, okay. Oh, I forgot about my property tax. So let me do some math, because every once in a while I gotta get realistic with myself. Okay, so my property tax is paid on my mortgage. So I pay $907 a month on insurance and plates. Plates, right? Times that by 12. That is $10,884 per year. I know people who don't even live on that. Okay, my mortgage, I pay $1,500 a year on property taxes. Okay, so I pay 483. We pay $11,384 a year. $11,384 a year in taxes and insurance. And that's not the taxes on our gas. That's not the taxes on shopping or anything you buy in the clothes. That's not the taxes on food or any other shopping, right? This is the base minimum that we pay in taxes and insurance every year, almost $12,000. And I live in the middle of nowhere. Literally nowhere. We used to have, it is a scam, because then you go to get insurance and something happens, like a tree falls on your friggin' pool, and they go, oh no, you need special insurance for your pool. What? How come my insurance covers my barn and garage, my chicken coop, my house, but it doesn't, and my deck, but it doesn't cover the pool that it's attached to? Okay, what am I missing here? Danielle from Alberta should run for Prime Minister of Canada. Well, I'm not even... What did I miss? My house payment is $350 principal. The interest is $349. You know what's really sad? Is that my mortgage is... I'm only paying 2.9% interest on my mortgage for the next 2 years. And then God only knows what it's going to go up to. Happened to my friend's mom that was almost killed by a drunk driver. No matter the circumstances, they don't want to pay out. Well, they did pay out when the ice backed up under our roof, ran down inside our walls and under our floors. But they wouldn't pay for it twice if we didn't replace the roof, because the roof was the issue, which makes sense. But 2.5%. Well, I think mine's a 20-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage. I don't know. But the truth is don't ever do a reverse mortgage, okay, folks? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not a politician. I'm just a person, everyday person who got to live with this stuff. Live on and then your minor estate, the fiction. Well, I'm not too sure about that, D-Double. We pay $2,000 a month just for health insurance. That doesn't include $5,000 deductible. See, that's nuts. And they want to do that here in Canada, right? They're making it so difficult to get an appointment or get things looked after that people are now going to private clinics and paying for them. And that is just making the system worse. Why? Because now people are paying for medical help that they should be getting free because we've already paid for it. This is chit-chatting, yes, Aces. So, I mean, the reverse mortgage. What they do, the reverse mortgage so you can stay in your home. You have to know something about reverse mortgages, okay? A reverse mortgage is when, say your house is completely paid off, okay? But you can't afford the upkeep on it because you're gotten older and you need to hire people in. Like, I'm going to need someone to come in and start cleaning for me and helping me with yard work, right? That's just the fact of life. If I want to stay here, I'm going to need help. And I've already got somebody coming, hopefully the first week of July. I had to put her off a month because of my knee. The 3 sheds and other deck insurance covers them, but separately. I know it's ridiculous. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, reverse mortgages. A reverse mortgage. Say your house is you're elderly and you need help in your home and you don't want to go to a home. So you decide to get a reverse mortgage because your home is completely paid for and, you know, they're going to give you 80% of the worth of your house. So say this house is worth $100,000. Say this house, that's the sad part. This house isn't worth that much. Say this house is worth $100,000. It's because of where I live. I live in the middle of nowhere. It's $100,000. And they come in and they say, oh, everything looks great. You've got a new roof. Everything's up to tickety-boo. We're going to give you 80% of your mortgage back. And we're going to give it to you to live on. And you don't have to pay that back. So, but when you die, the house gets sold and we get paid that money back first. And the rest goes to your, if there's anything left, the rest goes to your family. But you will never, ever, ever own it. You have now given them the right to demand how you keep your house up. Oh, you need a new roof or your reverse mortgage is not, you need a new roof or your reverse mortgage is you know, to keep your reverse mortgage without paying it back. Oh, you need new plumbing. You have to get that updated with your own money or your reverse mortgage will be no good. You know what I mean? It's all of this. They basically, you're paying rent to live in your own house and you're the landlord who has to keep it up to their standards. It's a stupid, stupid system. I don't care whether I really own my house or not. I do care, but I pay for it. And as long as I'm paying taxes on my property, the government owns it. They take that as rental fees, that they can come in and take it whenever you want. But try and stop paying taxes, and they'll take your friggin' home. Reclaim your securities. Well, I don't know if that works in Canada or not, D-Double. But, I mean, this is, you know, what we're going through as a people. We're finding out that we have a whole lot less friggin' control in our lives than we thought we had. You know what I mean? I'm looking for something to... Oh, you know what, Bev? You just said You got to put these seeds away. Oh, my walker's in the way. Hang on. It's not coming to get you, Gracie. She thinks my walker's coming to get her. Oh. Oh, for the love of Pete. I'm going to put these in here because these are important. These are celery, sunflower. Oh, I can smell the lavender. Hey, Sherry! Willows! Okay, let's put these over here. See, these are the kind of things I use for tripods for cell phones. Corey has sent me a beautiful tripod for my cell phone, except that it doesn't necessarily work on this desk very well. So I'm going to try and get my desk cleaned up so it can. Queen's dead, D-Double. The Queen's dead. And there's absolutely no reason why Charles and his whore should be on the throne. I'm sorry, I can only say it that way. Lady Di died because she would not fit the diabolical mold that the British that the royal family wanted her to do. She didn't fit their mold. And while she was married and producing the heir of the throne, Charles was screwing around with Lady Camilla. And he's on the throne, and his mistress is on the throne, the royal consort. The only person that should be on the throne, if at all, is the firstborn son of Lady Di. Everybody else should be kicked out. Seriously. I have no faith left, if I ever had any, in the royal family. I'm still under the weather, so I'm going to sign off. Okay, well, okay, Lori, take care. Mwah. Let's just talk, okay? They just changed the Hudson Bay Company to Canada Inc. Oh, another corporation. Hudson's Bay Company owned Zellers, and the Bay, and pretty sure they're not Canadian anymore. They just use the word Canada to make you feel like it still belongs to us. When was the last? I hear they're bringing Zellers back. I really hope so. I worked at Zellers. I shopped at Zellers. Zellers was a good Canadian company, but then Walmart came. And Zellers couldn't compete. Right? Sure, you can ask a sewing question, Shay. What's the sewing question, darling? If I can answer it, I will. Now, clothing is not something I'm good at making, so I'm only good at repairing. I'm American. Well, I mean, I'm not American. This person is. My thread keeps breaking when in reverse stitch. Check your needle. Change your needle. Because I had this problem. I don't know if you guys have ever seen me making a Christmas apron, and then I made a Christmas apron, but I had to do a video on why it took so long because my thread kept breaking. Turned out that the needle I was using had, you know how the needle for your sewing machine has a hole and the thread goes through and it goes like this. Well, part of the hole, one half of the hole was sharp. Your half, maybe part of your hole is sharp. Try changing your sewing machine needle. Yeah, I miss Zellers. Walmart did away with all the mom and pop. Yes, they did. I don't care what anybody says, right? Since the pandemic, We had two restaurants in this town. We had, well, now mind you, the Mustang Saddlery used to be a grocery store, but that was pre-pandemic that it was bought. But we had at one point two grocery stores, a gas station, a mill, a Desjardins bank, a CLSC, which is kind of like a walk-in clinic where you can get medical advice and medical help or get sent in the right direction. And what the hell else? Oh, yeah. And one of the restaurants completely got torn down. That was our favorite place. We'd go to Barbie Jr., especially after hunting. We'd go to Barbie Jr. for steak and eggs. They were taken down, and now this ungodly modern information building is in its place. Restaurant's gone. The other restaurant, the Pine View, their prices got so hyperinflated before the pandemic that nobody would. Howie and I went there one night. I don't know if it's changed. I haven't been back since. But Howie and I went there one night to have, I think he had a banquet burger and poutine, and I had a club and a poutine. We splurged on a dessert, which was like a piece of pie a la mode each, and we had a cup of coffee and a cup of tea. A burger platter, a club platter, 2 pieces of pie, and 2 drinks cost us $60. This was 5 years ago. Just binge watch some of your gas prices and grocery videos. It's getting crazy. I know, Monster Mama. I know. Plus, there was the Brennan's Hill Hotel, the Brennan's Hill store. Now, what the pandemic did, okay, Mustang Saddlery bought the little grocery store, and she has like a feed store and a saddlery store, and I get my feed there, thank God. The other grocery store just closed. It's a bait store now. The gas station is still there. The one restaurant is still there, the one that charged us $60 for burgers and clubs. But we haven't eaten there since, not just because it's price prohibitive, but they wouldn't let anybody into the restaurant who didn't have documented vaccine proof. So I decided I was never going in that restaurant again. Why? Because they wouldn't let me in when I most needed it or most wanted it. Because I wouldn't wear a mask and I wouldn't get vaccinated. Now that restaurant's the only one open here. It could be your tension too. That restaurant now closes at 2:00 every day. Every day. 2 in the afternoon. We used to go there for supper. Right? Oh no, madame, it's 2:00. It's can I make an order for delivery? Oh, pickup. Oh no, madame, it's 2:00. We're closed. It's like, what? So this is what we have now. A restaurant that closes at 2 in the afternoon, a bait store, a feed store, and a gas station. The CLSC is almost never open. The Desjardins Bank is now just part of the municipal office. It's not there anymore. We have a library. Who uses those anymore, right? This is what, and yet I listened to nothing in the beginning of Trudeau's first election campaign. How he was going to build the infrastructure for good internet in the country. Yeah, I got good internet in the country, 5G, right? How he was going to build infrastructure so that people could get the things they needed in the country. Where the frig is that happening? If it has a computer, turn it off for the first few minutes, then turn it back on. Oh, there you go. Did you check your tension? Check your tension. I've been messing with the tension, trying different settings. Start with trying to change your sewing machine needle. When my thread broke, over and over and over again. And I checked the tension and everything was fine. It wasn't the tension, it was the hole in the needle had a sharp edge. Yeah, so I refuse. Now we do have a farm store. I gotta say this, we do have a farm store. And that is fresh eggs, plants, produce as it comes in season, ground, meat, eggs, that kind of thing, right? Unfortunately, here in Quebec, all meat has to be sold frozen. You can't sell fresh meat. So I can't go and buy all this frozen meat and then make up meatloaves unless I'm ready to cook them, right? If the meat's fresh and it's raw, you can make your meatloaves and put them in the freezer without cooking them, bring them out to cook. However, the last time I bought a pound of hamburger at that store, it was $10. Yes, it's fresh farm, hay-fed beef, and it's local. But I can't afford $10 for two meatloaves. You know what I mean? So I'm going, physically, we stopped pretty much most of the homesteading because it was getting too difficult for us as we age. But guess what? We got to reclaim some of that. I'm building an orchard one way or another. I'm moving my apple trees. I'm getting another apricot tree, and I'm going to rescue my other pear tree that's been fighting to live for about, 9 years. So these are all things I'm trying to make my property not necessarily self-sufficient, but I want perennial food growing, like asparagus, like walking onions, like fruit. Right? I don't know, Mom's Homestead. They could sell the eggs fresh and everything, just not the meat. So I get my meat frozen, period. But I get it from a farmer in Ottawa, and it's much, much cheaper. Right? If you go into Life with the Wolfies, and if you live in Ottawa and you want reasonable prices on a side of beef or a whole butchered pig, you call that number on Amy Farms. I think it's called Amy Farms. But look it up. I paid, well, I'm not going to tell you what I paid because I have advertising revenue tied up in that. But I got a side of beef for under $1,000. And it's hay raised, grain finished. All the time, make it into a meatloaf, whatever. I'll be honest, I saw my hamburger all the time, make it into meatloaf or whatever, and then refreeze it. You thaw your hamburger all the time, make it into, yeah, but do you cook the meatloaf before you refreeze it? That's really dangerous. You shouldn't do that because you're thawing it and then you're adding bacterial components to it. Right? Hey, Kathy Esvido. I'd die too if I had been claimed by a bear like your tree. Well, no, that other tree was planted wrong and it's fighting to live. I have pears on my tree. I have apples on my tree. And eventually, when I have that back part that's going to get filled, I want to put my apple trees. I want to put 2 or 3 apple trees that I have here that have to be dug up very carefully. My apricot tree and another apricot tree as a pollinizer. And then I'm going to leave my 2 pear trees where they are. And that way I have apples, pears, and apricots. I can make dried fruit. I can make canned fruit. I can do all kinds of things with that. I have 100 asparagus plants that within the next 2 years will be giving me constant asparagus throughout the spring. You found a farm for $5 a pound. There you go, D-Dobble. Apples are going terribly here in the UK this year. Almost everyone speak they have almost none. Last year I got 1 apple. This year I saw my 1 tree go into blossom. I think I have about 10 of them and they're out of reach, or most of them are out of reach of the deer. Oops, sorry. Farmers will have bootleg cows and pigs. You got to be careful, though, because many farmers are being offered new vaccines for their animals free from pharmaceutical companies, and those vaccines have mRNA in them. So actually, Howard went and talked to our beef and pork supplier and said, you know, he was on the phone, speakerphone with me, and I said, now you make sure you ask Aaron if he's using any of them fancy mRNA or anything like that. And he said, ask him yourself. He said, you're on speaker. And Aaron said, I've been using the same vaccines that I've been using for ever since I've been a farmer, and I ain't changing any. I said, just so you know, if you do change to an NRN or nanotech kind of technology vaccines for your animals, we will no longer be customers. Period, full stop. Are you flashing your pen again? Yes. I just picked up my Azure order the other day, and I ordered organic grass-fed finished beef. So good. The Closet Farm organic grass-fed. Well, the thing is this is what people have to do. I can turn my fan off for a few minutes now. We have to, the reason I have my curtain open is my bathroom door is shut so you don't have to look at my toilet, but I have a wind tunnel. I've got a fan in the front window pulling air into the house because that's the shady side of the house right now. And I have a fan, my big box fan in the hallway pushing it towards my bedroom, and I have an exhaust fan in my bedroom window pushing out. So, never heard of not refreezing them. So here's what we got to do. Let's talk about civil disobedience. I want you to think about, okay, I'm going to give you this phrase, civil disobedience, while I go behind my fan. And I want you folks to think for a few minutes and then tell me what you think civil disobedience means. One of these days soon, I'm going to go into Walmart or Costco or somewhere and get a big loin of pork. A big loin of pork. Canadian grade A. And I'm going to make my own sausage. Hey, Katrina, babe. Peaceful non-compliance. When government passes unrighteous laws. Peaceful non-compliant, not doing as the government wants you to do without fighting. Okay. So civil disobedience is when people say enough is enough. It's not a revolution. It's like a quiet revolution. All right? We just stop telling them everything they think they need to know. I am not supposed to have chickens on my property because I don't have an acre per chicken. You're supposed to have a minimum of 5 acres. That's absolute horse crap. You can have 3 chickens in Toronto as long as you have a yard and you don't have a rooster. I live in the middle of the Gatineau Hills, the Outaouais Valley. I live on an acre, and I'm surrounded by 120 acres of agricultural land and a road at the front. And I'm in the hills. I'm a hillbilly. And they're going to tell me I can't have chickens? So what's my job? My job was to raise chickens, which I did. And soon we're going to be taking that cabinet out in the porch and gutting it and building a chicken coop for 3 chickens in my porch. Right? That's civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is me walking into the hospital without a mask on because they don't work. Now, I was told in the triage that I had to wear a mask or I wouldn't be served. Right? Pretty much. And that Howie would have to go sit in his car over a paper mask. I had to put one on, but I wasn't on it very long. And you saw the emotional state I was in afterwards. That wasn't just because the doctor couldn't speak clear English. That wasn't just because the doctor didn't x-ray or send me for an MRI. That wasn't because he just fluffed me off with Tylenol and anti-inflammatories. It was also because I was forced to wear a mask when it causes me to have panic attacks. Now, that is the reason you saw me so disheveled emotionally after I come out of the hospital. Even in the hospitals, it is vied but not expected. Spray hairspray through a mask one time clearly doesn't work. Yeah, tell me about it, right? So, my point is I lost my love for Costco when they forced me to wear a face shield, even though I'm mask exempt or was mask exempt for medical reasons. And they still forced me. And they didn't pick anybody. They picked the biggest bruiser they had to come out and not look directly into this elderly woman's face while she's on a cart, a handicap cart. He wouldn't even look me in the eyes. Nope, you have to wear it. You have to wear it. It's our store policy. I'm medically exempt. Well, inside this store, we have the final say. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I know the arrows are still on some of the floors. Like, I remember in the beginning, I went shopping with Briar, and they wanted you to go. Now, this was another thing about shopping. They wanted you to follow the arrows and go down each aisle. You couldn't cut. You couldn't go down the wrong way. People would give you dirty looks. And it's like, guys, it's an aisle in the grocery store. If you think it's okay for them to funnel you like a conveyor belt through the store past every single aisle, that's forcing you to look at things you don't want to buy but will probably buy anyway, right? Yes, I'm a rebel too, aces, right? I don't follow the arrows, okay? Unless it's like a one-way street. You know, I won't go down a one-way street. But arrows are for safety traffic, not safety in the grocery stores, not keeping people apart. Hug your family. Have not a bonfire right now, but, get together with your friends around the pool, right? Have a corn roast. They're already starting to tell people in certain parts of Europe, they're already canceling. They cancel, there's a heat wave. It's going to get to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to close down the park. We're going to close down your company picnic. We're going to close down the outdoor concert. We're going to do this. We're going to do that because of the heat. The heat has not friggin' changed, folks. There is no such thing as the climate crisis. There is, however, such thing as climate change. What they're not telling you is that climate change is natural. We've had extinction level events. We've had ice age after ice age. And it goes in a circle and it keeps coming back. Our Earth has its own cycles of climate change. And they are the natural order. I'm not talking about pollution. Okay? They're going to start trying to convince people that trees give off carbon and that we should shut them all down. I'm convinced all the fires in Canada started because somebody whispered to Justin Trudeau, hey, trees make oxygen. Technically, Canada doesn't have a carbon footprint. Oh, next thing you know, trees are burning down all over the place. Climate change is the natural order of the planet, not pollution. Climate change. The only ridiculous The apps, you got to think about this now. I want you to hear me. And I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you to think. All right? What makes the politicians think that they can change the natural frigging order of the planet? There's been no change in temperature other than 1 or 2 degrees in 50,000 years. As a matter of fact, it was hotter 50,000 years ago. These are not record temperatures. They're only record temperatures in our time. Right? Hey, Nat. Hey, Joe. How you doing, sweetheart? We have a weather modification center here in Texas. Texas. Fact. They are monsters manipulating the weather. I'm thankful for the change as my state was carved out by an iceberg, and now my state rock is fossilized coral, the coolest state rock of all 50 states. Cool. There was a guy that posted a video showing the fire started at the same time. That was in Quebec, eh? All right, Rosie, go sell jelly! You know, I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that because I don't have a license to make food for sale in my home because I have a dog. And I would have to take the course, and the course would all be in French. So I'm really grateful you have the freedom to make and sell your jellies. I really do. Who knows? I may start. But the whole point about civil disobedience is there are laws in place for a reason. But when the government starts telling us where to breathe, when to visit our family, when to shop, where to shop, what to drive, and where to live, and whether or not we can provide for our own families, then it's time for civil disobedience. It's time to put the chickens in your backyard. It's time to grow your gardens. It's time to stop shopping at the big conglomerates unless you can help it. Right? Right? We only shop in the winter for the things we can't provide. I shop in the summer until my garden's ready to go. Right? Well, thank you, Rosie. Feeling lots better, but very sore. Well, have you learned your lesson, Joe? I sent you, I'm going to send you an email, but have you learned your lesson? I've been trying and trying and trying. No, I don't like to make it sound like a lesson to learn. Do you remember me telling you, Joe, if you don't look after yourself, if you only look after Scott, you are not going to be in the position to look after him at all because you're killing yourself doing it. Do I make myself understood? I've been trying and trying to tell you, just like you've been trying and trying to tell me, my love. If we don't look after ourselves and love ourselves first, everything suffers because we go downhill and we take everybody with us. All the people we're supposed to be looking after go down with us. 11-day hospital stay. Oh, I can only manage about 3 days in the hospital before I'm ready to go home. Have you heard about the 15-minute neighborhoods that they're trialing? Where's this, Mom? Homestead? Yeah, they're all over the place, mostly in Europe. And I have friends and family who go, I don't care if I get it. It means everything's closer to me. Really? See, people, we have been being sold the life of convenience. I saw it, Joe, and I'm going to email you after, okay, honey? You're in Oxfordshire. Okay. The 15-minute, they're called 15-minute cities. And they're trying to get people not to travel from one end of the city to the other to go where they want to go. So they're making these 15-minute little cities where everything you need is within 15 minutes. Your doctor, your bank, your grocery store, everything, so that you don't have to drive, so that you can walk or ride a bike. Or if you have to drive, you'll drive a little electric car or take a manless taxi or whatever. until there is another lockdown. And then you're screwed, right? They can't do it with people like me because, I looked right at the cop when he said, you can't go back to Wakefield. Do you remember that, folks? Do you remember during the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic when my sister was here? And I went to get her cigarettes. And I wasn't going to get them at the gas station because they're expensive. And I was going to go to Giant Tiger in Wakefield. And they asked me, they stopped me. The police stopped me right about where the Barbie Junior used to be and said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Giant Tiger. Is it necessary that you go to Giant Tiger? I said, well, I'm not paying the cigarette prices at the gas station for my sister. And I ain't going home without cigarettes for my sister. You want to go back to my house without cigarettes for my sister? And he laughed and he let me through. But on the way back, I got an arrogant young prick who tried to tell me that I had to go, for starters, he made me wait for 10 minutes while he talked to the truck. This is now going in the opposite direction, and I'm 5 minutes from my house. And he talks to the truck ahead of me. Now, notice it's trucks, eh? They're not bothering the people riding through on the bicycles. This is what it's really about. And those bicycle people were not from Quebec at the time. They were trying to keep people out of each other's provinces. And then they tried to tell me I couldn't go back to Giant Tiger, that I had to go up to Gracefield to do my shopping. I said, you can't tell me where to shop. Madame, why are you being so? I said, look, I went to the store. And I talked to the police on my way to the store. Now you've left me here for 10 minutes while you talk to one person in a truck who has a single or two 2x4s strapped to the back of his flatbed. And you waste my time for 10 minutes, leaving me here idling my truck, which I actually turned off, while I watch bicycles go through that way that are not people from Quebec. And you're telling me, who I live here, that I can't shop there? I have to go somewhere else? Did I wake up behind the Berlin Wall this morning? And he went, Madame, why are you being... It started off when he finally... Okay, after he finished with the truck ahead of me, he started walking towards the passenger side of my truck. Now, Gracie was in a harness and on a seatbelt. But that didn't hold her immovable. She could have lunged halfway out that window. Good 3 feet. Right? Hey, Pam. Read Lisa Parsons' comment, please. I will in a minute. If somebody will copy it and repaste it, I would appreciate it so I don't have to go hunting for it. And he started walking towards Gracie on the passenger side. And I said, stop right there, please. And he goes, why? I'm more than 6 feet away from you. I said, you're not more than 6 feet away from my dog. Well, your dog should be leashed. I said, my dog is harnessed and seat belted in. But if you come to the passenger door, she will protect me. She will lunge out that window to the extent of her leash. I'm asking for your protection, not to come any closer. And that's when he started getting really arrogant. That's when it got into I can't go back to Giant Tiger. I have to go to Gracefield, which is farther away, which the prices are higher. They have no Giant Tiger and it takes more gas. No, you can't tell me where I can shop. You can't tell me I can't go to the store I always go to, and I have to go farther away for higher prices. I did not wake up behind the Berlin Wall this morning. He said, Madame. I said, fine. Just listen. I said, okay. You have to go home and quarantine for 14 days. And I just was impassive. You have to go home. I'm looking right out my windshield. He's talking. You have to go home and quarantine for 14 days, and you can't go back in that direction until this has been lifted. And I just looked at him, and I said, am I under arrest? And he said, no, of course not. And I said, you bet your ass I'm not, because I know my rights. And I spit gravel when I left with my truck. What ticked me off today? Well, I'm just getting sick and tired of the government having their finger in absolutely everything I do. Trudeau, they had Bill C-11 passed, which gives Trudeau or gives the government the right to censor what they don't feel is appropriate. It gives the government the right to, for instance, new Quebec law went through, Quebec language law. Okay, you've heard me talk about this. The Quebec language law is that anywhere in the country you can be served in your own language at a government office, right? In Quebec, you get served in only French first. Now, it was this way when we moved here, but all we had to do was phone the electric company, phone anybody I was getting bills from, and say, could you please send me my bills in English? I'm English. I'm an Anglophone and I have no French. And they'd say, sure. Now, everything comes in French unless you request it otherwise, and you have to go through paperwork. Okay? You don't have to be served in English in a French store here in Quebec. They don't have to. Worse, everybody who works in that store has to be fluently French, not fluently bilingual. Fluently French. And they now have an enforcement force on that. If I'm one of those enforcement people and I walk into a store and all it takes is getting up to the cash, or I walk around the store and I say in English, oh, can you show me where the canned tomatoes are? And they'll say, parlez-vous français? And say, no, I have no French. Okay, come on over here, and this is where the tomatoes are. But if I was that enforcer and I walked in and said, could you show me where the canned tomatoes are? And they say, sure, they're right over here. Tick! You didn't answer me in French first. And that store can get a fine. So the stores are uber vigilant in the French. Right? They're saying, oh, we're doing self-checkouts because we can't get people to work, because I'm going to say 40% or at least 30% of this, especially Western Quebec, doesn't speak French. So you got a government. So this is where it goes. Every YouTube video I open, all of my ads are in French. Do you know why? Because I live in Quebec. I automatically must understand French. And people say, well, if you don't like it, move. Why the fuck should I have to move? I've lived here for, I've lived here for 22 years in Quebec. Why should I have to move just because they decide they don't like my language? Right? I understand sovereignty. I understand wanting to keep your heritage. My heritage is Viking, Scots, and Native. All right? I understand wanting to keep heritage, but not at the exclusion of other people in society. This, I know it's a virus spreading, Jackie. The cops here told our city they were not doing it. Well, the thing is, my t-shirt for today seems appropriate. I protested and all I got was the police state. Seriously. We went to the convoy several weekends in a row downtown Ottawa, and before the injunction, the day before the sound injunction, okay? They got an injunction that stopped the horns blaring 24/7. That should have just, but people in downtown Ottawa, it's not a peaceful protest. We can't sleep. We can't shop, blah, 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 blah. That's not what peaceful protest means. Peaceful protest means we are protesting and we're not being violent about it. We got bouncy castles and barbecues and feeding the homeless, right? But that invoked the Emergencies Act. My government sucks. Did you hear about the guy that got locked out of all his smart appliances and house for a week due to a false accusation? Yeah, he started with the smart meters, didn't it? I don't have a smart meter. I opted out. And there were so many people in Western Quebec that opted out that we actually get a discount. Like we had to pay a certain amount a month just to have somebody come and read our meter. Well, our meter only gets read once a year now. So I don't even have to pay that. I just pay, I think I pay $20 a year to have my meter read. I could do it myself if I want. But the thing is the encroachment into our privacy is with our appliances, our cell phones, don't tell me that these cell phones and these computers and our smart TVs can't record us even when we don't know they're doing it. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. They're capable of that. All right. The encroachment into our lives has gotten so insidious that I'm not even allowed to say the things I want to say on the internet without having to go to a special site, or else I will be censored. I have no doubt that YouTube is going to go over this live stream and go, oh, no, 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 no. We're going to demonetize this. And if they do, they do. Civil disobedience means you don't need to let the government or any kind of social institution past your property line without reason. I'm going to be putting up no trespassing signs on my property. Why? So that if someone comes to my door and says, you have chickens in your porch and it's a bylaw violation, blah, 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 I'll say, you're violating my no trespassing. You can't. I mean, it's gotten to the point where pet rabbits are going to have to be registered and shit, right? Re-education camp for us all. So, oh, well, thank you, Kathy. Ace Vito. How do you pronounce your name? Ace Vito? Ace Vito? We used to have to go out and read the meter ourselves and mail the card back in. We could do that. But what they do now is they charge me a bill every 6 weeks of what they think based on last year's usage. My bill's going to be pretty high. Why? Because last year I was running a pool heater. This year I am not. So I'm not going to end up with a credit, right? They wanted to put fiber optics from the electrical company and wanted to put a pole in my backyard. I have fiber optics. I have the Bell 5, right? I have the cheapest package, but it still works. And I am under no illusion that my life, for the most part, my life is an open book. I mean, ask my patrons. They've even been in my bedroom at night. No, it's get your mind out of the gutter. My point is we have the right to say, you don't get to tell me how to live. You don't get to tell me how to feed my family. I'm not hurting anybody by gardening or raising a few chickens for eggs or raising medicinal herbs in my garden. And by the way, I did a video for our half-acre homestead on making a comfrey poultice. It's on my knee right now. And right now, my knee's feeling really good, actually. And I'm going to be getting Howie to take the camera out and go show you my comfrey plant. And then I'm going to get him to harvest a bunch of leaves. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to dry them, okay? I have to head off now, too, because I've been on here for an hour and 15 minutes. And I actually have to load the dishwasher. Howie unloaded it last night. And he said, are you sure you're going to be able to load it? And I said, yes. But then I blew my knee. I twisted my knee at 2 o'clock this morning. So I'm going to take my time. I'm going to go, oh, I got to tell you about supper. You want to hear about supper? In English, it's acevedo. Acevedo. Okay. Acevedo. It almost sounds like a plant. Yeah, mine are flowering here too. And my sage came back and it's flowering, and then I broke most of the plant off. So I'm really hoping. Oh, I've got a parsnip that came. Remember, I dug up remember last fall when the garden was in, I went out to see if I could glean anything else, you know, a small turnip, the last two parsnips, and then I went and dug up some garlic, and I ended up planting garlic in my denuded parsnip bed. Well, I have a parsnip. I can't wait to get out in the backyard and take my camera. I have a parsnip that has come back from last year, and it's going into flower, which means I may be able to get seeds. Hey, Frida. So I'm going to get Howie to go out and with my camera pick some comfrey leaves, and then I'm going to show you how I dry them, and I'm going to add that to the compress. There's two ways you can do comfrey. You can boil it in water, strain it, put a cloth in and wring it, and put it on your leg, on the broken bone or the bruised whatever. Or you can do what I did, and I'm going to take it off and I'm going to show you. I can. This is a comfrey poultice. This is dried comfrey from last year. And I ground it up in my mortar and pestle, and I added warm water, and then I put it on my knee. I'll throw that out, yeah. And then this is one of those muslin cloths that I use for draining syrup or jelly. And I just folded it corner in to corner in like this. And then in and in again like this. I put the poultice on my knee and I wrapped this around my knee because I did it this way so it's the longest. I wrapped it over the poultice, brought these around and tied them in a knot in the front. What's for dinner? Well, before he left to go out on Monday night, Howie did, like I said, he did some laundry. He loaded the dishwasher. He emptied the garbages. And he made his own lunch. And he said, "Is there anything you need from me before I go out into the coach for bed?" Because he sleeps out there all winter long or all summer long for the air conditioning, and then and also to let me sleep because summer's a really busy, hard time for me. And I said, "Get me a package of hamburger out of the deep freezer." And so he came back and he said, "There is none." I said, "Well, get me a small roast." So yesterday I didn't do a video, but that night I put the roast in a bowl in the package in the fridge, and I let it kind of partially thaw overnight. Then I put butter, olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper in a cast iron frying pan, and I seared that roast all over and popped it in the crock pot, put a lid on it. I put a quarter cup of water in, quarter cup, put a lid on it, and then covered my crock pot, and then I let that simmer away on high for about 3 or 4 hours. High. And then about an hour and a half before supper, I went and I checked, and there's all this wonderful beef juice in the bottom of the crock pot. Now I kept things really simple yesterday. So what I did is I went to the pantry and I got a jar of carrots and my last jar of potatoes. And I drained half the water of the potatoes off into a cup. And I put in a shot of Worcestershire sauce, a shot of soya sauce, garlic, salt, pepper, and a quarter cup of oil and a quarter cup of flour. And I put that in an empty peanut butter jar and I shook the crap out of it. And I poured that around the roast into the beef juice. Left it on high, put the lid back on, and covered it. Then I drained the rest of my carrots and my potatoes. Yes, I saved it for soup. And I put them in a colander that was lined with paper towel to kind of dry them. And in a pot, I melted butter, olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper. A little bit of butter, like talking a tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of olive oil, and salt and pepper and garlic. And I got that heated up so it's sizzling, and then I dumped all my potatoes and carrots in that. I took a handful of frozen onions from the freezer, threw them in, added more powdered garlic, added parsley, I almost said celery, parsley. And then I just kind of seared it all over, turned it down to minimum, and put the lid on it. And when Howie got home, all he had to do was dish up the veg and cut up the roast and dish up the gravy, right? Because there was gravy. Acevedo. Did I say it right? Well, thank you, Kathy. Thank you. And we had seconds. Howie said, "This is really good. What did you do?" And I told him about how I made the gravy and and the vegetables. And he said, I kept it to a 2-pot meal because of my knee. So before he went to bed, or before he went out, he made himself some roast beef sandwiches. And I had a roast beef sandwich for breakfast today, to take my pills. And I had a little nugget of roast beef, about, I don't know, size of a tennis ball left. So I had leftover gravy. I had less than a serving of the leftover onions, carrots, and potatoes. So I just threw the onions, carrots, and potatoes into the gravy. I broke up because crock-pot roast beef shreds, okay? I shredded up the roast beef, put it back in the crock pot with the little bits of veg and the gravy, and I put it in the fridge. Tonight, actually, I'm going to do that really soon. It's going to go back on the crock. The crock's going to go back on and put on high. And I'm just going to get a jar of green beans from the pantry and some instant mashed potatoes. And I'm going to dump the beans into the gravy. I'm going to add some onions. And there's a little bit of, and then I'm going to serve it all over mashed potatoes. So we got 2 lunches and 2 suppers out of a roast no bigger than that. No bigger than my head. Well, we have been on here forever, and I have to go load the dishwasher and put the crock on for supper. So this is the Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead saying, patrons, let's pay the bills. Patreon is where this afternoon, actually, probably tonight, in my bedroom, patrons and I visit 3 times a week privately. It is an unlisted live stream where we talk about the things that need to be talked about. Kind of like today. I have no idea how this is going to go over with YouTube today, so fingers crossed that they just allow me to continue to be me. But patrons, every Monday and Wednesday, usually at 4 o'clock, we sit down and we do an unlisted live stream and we talk about the things that mean the most to us. The things that maybe YouTube wouldn't necessarily want us to talk about. And then on Fridays, we do what we call Freaky Friday. That's where at about 8 o'clock Friday night, we do an unlisted live stream. We play music. This is my boombox. We have disco lights, all that fun stuff. Okay? And then we'd run that for about an hour and a half. And then YouTube usually catches up with us on copywritten material. And then I delete the entire live stream after saying goodnight. Friday nights are only if you show up. You don't get to, sometimes you get to watch them, I'll save them. But 9 times out of 10, they have to be shut down because I'm, you know what I mean? They have to be deleted. So the unlisted Friday, Freaky Friday lives are for people who show up only. But the Monday and Wednesday lives, you're free to watch them after the fact. The only thing you're not allowed to do is share the links, because it is private and personal and you're part of the inner circle. That's all it is. And that costs you $5 US a month, like a Starbucks latte or something, $7.50 Canadian. And that gives you 4 Freaky Fridays a month. Patrons will tell you that the $5 a month is worth it for Freaky Fridays alone, right? Today is a sample of what goes on. Only I was actually quite subdued today. So, thank you. I'm going to go now and put supper on, and I'm going to go load the dishwasher. And I will get Howie to go and, oh God, it was so hard for me today not to take my walker outside and go weed my garden because I can't see, it's so overgrown. So, absolutely. Freaky Friday is our day, our time. We play music, we get funky, we tell off color jokes, and I don't necessarily mean racist jokes, right? I'm talking, we get real. And it's the one time of the week that we can scrape off all the restrictions that life has put on us. How to behave, how to think, how to talk, how to be in public. And we just come in here and we blow that crap away so that we have a fresh week. That's what Freaky Friday really is. This is Mrs. Wolfe from Our Half Acre Homestead saying, take care, God bless, and just because I can't see you, it doesn't mean you're not some of the most important people in my life. I talk to you folks more than I talk to most of my own family. I have family that I don't even talk to or won't talk to me. I don't care either way. It doesn't matter to me. But you have been the people that have been loving me and supporting me and keeping me sane for the last 3 years. It started 2 years before the pandemic that I started noticing shit was really going wrong. Okay? And that's when the pandemic hit, is when we went 18 months of daily live streams just to help people through the fear and the anxiety and the absolute bullshit that they put us through. It helped me keep my sanity. You people are my family. Yes, I have family that I love. I have children and cousins and aunts. Well, I don't have any aunts and uncles anymore. I have, children and my husband and cousins and siblings and very dear friends who I see as family. But you're the ones that show up every day. Just saying. This is the Mrs. Wolfe from Our Half Acre Homestead saying, later, fam. I love you. Take care. God bless. If we don't look after each other and support each other, nobody else will. Just saying. I love you. And that's no lie.